Good morning, Persephone Jane for Right Up Our Alley. Today we're going to continue a little bit on story exercises. A couple of weeks ago I did a post about using histories of various things and people and places as story exercises to better understand your characters and maybe sometimes have the added bonus of adding word count to your novel. So today we're going to continue a little bit and we're going to talk about plotting, except not like big arc story, like book plotting. We're going to talk about scene plotting, right? So a lot of times I'll be in a scene that I'm writing, obviously, and I'll okay, I know what's going to happen after this scene, and I want this stuff at the beginning of the scene, but I don't know how to end this scene. I don't know, what should happen here. And so I just need a little something. I don't need a huge, big, thing. So I will sit down and I will do a story exercise for the end of that scene. And those story exercises take lots of different shapes and forms. So today we're going to talk about 3 different spots that I just quickly pull from to see if I can get a little inspiration for the end of my scene. I will warn you, there have been times where the end of that scene has dramatically changed, which I just said I didn't want, right? But let's be realistic. Our books and our characters do lots of things that we don't want, and we just kind of follow them. So if it happens, it happens. First, there are several story generator apps that you can download for a couple bucks, and they're each a little bit different in the style, obviously, but then also a little bit different in what they offer as far as plot points and things like that. You can also go online and find several different versions of story generators. And it really just depends on how your brain works and how your brain takes a story idea and transfers it to inspiration for your scene or your novel. So if those work for you, great. If they don't worry. I have 2 more choices. The first choice is a really simple writing prompt that I will use for a story exercise. You go to your bookshelf and you pick any book. It does not matter. Reach to the right. Pick the nearest book to you. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what book you pick up, because you're just going to turn randomly to a page and you're going to pick the first sentence of the first full paragraph. So if the page starts in the middle of a paragraph, skip that. Go to the next paragraph. In this case, it would be, quote, "I bought you a scarf at the same time as the sketchbook, remember?" That's completely arbitrary, right? It's not specific to a place. It's not specific to a person. A boy or a girl could be saying that. A mom. It doesn't matter who could be saying that. And if it's in my story, even a little bit, I could use it. Even if it's not in my story, it's an exercise, right? I'm gonna write this as the next line in that scene that I'm stuck in. I'm just gonna write it. What if somebody randomly said that? What would it mean? What could it mean? Who could react to it? How could they react to it? And I'm gonna write that out. And I'm gonna put that writing aside because it's a story exercise. It's not finish the scene. It's not complete the novel. It's just an exercise to get my brain out of the funk that it's in, right? Any page, it literally doesn't matter. A bright pink spark soared high and her face glimmered over our upturned ones. That's from the same book. It literally doesn't matter. I'm gonna prove it again. Quite often, struggling like a scholar over relatively unimportant matters can make one increasingly confused. Does not matter. Okay, well this one matters a little bit because it's the Tao of Pooh, and the first word is Pooh had now splashed across the stream to Eeyore, and Piglet was sitting a little way off, his head in his paws, snuffling to himself. Okay, so be careful about that. But even still, it's a story exercise. Use it. Like, change the name Pooh to one of the names of your characters. Big effing deal. It's just a story exercise. Use it. All right, so grab any book near you, pick it up, turn to any page, and grab the first sentence. Write a scene. Get you out of your funk. Do it a couple times. Write the end of the same scene several different ways. That's the whole point. All right, last. If you have watched any of my videos thus far, you might know what's coming. Because this is seriously my favorite story tool, which is story cubes. I adore them. They work really well in this instance because I can grab one cube. I can grab several cubes. I can grab one cube. So I have the three main sets in actual cubes, and then I have 1, 2, 3 like expander. They sell these little packs of expander. They're 3 dice. The normal cubes have 9, the normal sets. And then these expander ones have 3 dice each, and they're themed like galactic or fantasy or medieval or whatever. So I have several of those. I also have the app, which I will use for other things and at other times. But in these instances where I need something, just a quick one little thing, I'll take out the actual cubes because I don't have to toss them like I do on my app. On the app, I toss them and I get whatever picture rolls. Whereas here, I can just look at them and I can see if any of these things inspire part of my story or inspire an end to a story. Or I can flip it over and I can look at the other side. Do any of these pictures inspire a comment or an end to the scene that I'm in? Do they inspire the next scene? And maybe knowing what the next scene will be will help me finish writing this one, because how do I get there? And I like that I can just put my hand in here and I can roll them around, and then I can look at a whole bunch more, right? I can just roll these around and I can say, no, I don't really like the dinosaur. I don't really like the gnome, the dragonfly, maybe. Or, you know, some of them are a little more abstract, like there's the man in the maze, sort of. So yeah, this could be maybe they come up to a maze of some kind, or they come up to a natural structure or a natural design on the ground that has this spiral shape, or maybe somebody gets dizzy. You know, the way that these are interpreted is completely up to you and your story. And that's kind of the point. It takes you out of the funk that you're in and gives you something else to focus on or think about, like, how could I incorporate this into the scene? And then you do a couple of these. And so then when you're done, you have a couple of prompts from your books. You have a couple of prompts from some story cubes. You have a couple of prompts from your maybe online apps or your other story generation apps that you've used in this particular instance, and you've written for maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, I don't know, depends on, you know, how you're flowing that day. But you use that and something will stick out to you while you're writing. You might even be interrupted in your writing and be like, oh, that's what it is, and then it'll have nothing to do with anything you've written. But for getting out of the mindset of I'm stuck, and letting go of what you're stuck on and trying to focus on something different, it helps your brain. It's a side story, so to speak. You know that thing when you're monotonously folding the laundry and then you realize the answer to that big question at work or whatever it is, the solution to the problem comes to you when you're doing the monotonous thing. That's why the shower is such an inspirational place, because you're doing this monotonous thing that does not require your brain to actually think, and it allows your intellect to come and go and can make connections that you wouldn't normally make because you're not thinking too hard, you're not trying too hard. And it's the same concept. Using these story exercises to twist the plot of a simple scene can inspire you to either use one of them or inspire you to create what is needed. I hope that these little plot story exercises are helpful to you in writing your scene or even your entire story. I have an entire book that I'm writing with story cubes if you haven't heard yet, because I put it everywhere because I love them so much. And that's okay. It's so fun to use them in that way, but it's also a nice break from the daily writing grind to use them in just a quick kind of blurby way. Is that a word? Blurby? I don't know. Using them to help you finish a particular scene or to help you gain inspiration for a particular scene is a nice story exercise that can get you out of the funk of writing while still exercising the writing muscles, because that's the goal. And as always, with our story exercises, make sure that you're not using these as a procrastination to actually writing. That's the trick with everything that we do, right? Everything is potentially a distraction and a way to enable our procrastination. So I suggest these when you're in a funk. I do not suggest them when you're just procrastinating. Then I suggest writing anyway. I hope that these have given you a little bit of insight into some things you might be able to do to get you out of the funk. If they have, let me know in the comments below. If they haven't and you have some other ideas that help you get out of the funk of a scene, let us know, because when we're creating these videos for you guys, we're also always looking for tips and feedback that can help us as writers as well. Until next time, happy writing.